With just a few weeks remaining before the NFL draft, the Carolina Panthers locked up an anchor to their defense. Want to see how they did it? Find out next on Growlin' and Growlin'. Welcome, Panther Nation football fans, to another edition of Growlin' and Prowlin'. I am your host, Mr. CeeLo here. Thank you guys for joining us on another edition of Growlin' and Prowlin'. Before we get started tonight, you guys, I want to give a huge shout out to Linda Tingham, 2944, who responded on my show about could the Diggs trade to the Texans impact the Panthers draft. She said she corrected me. There's no fifth-year option on Mechie, which I knew that. I just don't know why that came out that way. I guess talking about all these free agents and high-quality first-round free agents coming up and fifth-year options, that was on my mind. And but the end part of that, Linda, you said that he was practicing with C.J. Stroud, Tank Dell, and Stephon Diggs. That he being John Mechie. Linda, I hate to be the bearer of bad news for if you're a Texans fan, but that means nothing. These guys have been known to be mid-season practicing with guys, no clue that they're going to be traded, and boom, there they go. They're out the door. So that really means nothing at this point. He could be traded tomorrow if the Carolina Panthers presented a good enough package. And we're seeing that the Texans really don't have any kind of reserve of giving up their draft picks at this point. Maybe they know something we don't. Maybe they want to keep this team intact and only want to add pieces that make sense. We're watching this team build, but let's not get too much into it. I don't care about the Texans, but I do think anything's possible. Him practicing with this team does not mean a thing. But thank you so much, Linda. I just had to give you a shout out there. Thank you. Keep the comments coming. That's what this program is about, you guys. But tonight I want to talk about a player that we just took a huge step in moving forward with. And that guy would be one Derrick Brown. I am ecstatic. Now, this signing will have been broken a week ago. He officially signed on Monday. But as I said, things happen, and I appreciate you guys staying with me and checking out the content as always. But I want to talk about Derrick Brown and how important this signing is to this organization. As you guys know, he signed a 4-year extension, which will take him into the 2028 offseason, which is nothing short of a remarkable move for the Carolina Panthers, being that no longer have Brian Burns. We have to have an anchor to this defense. We've got to have a guy that just bullies and is a physical presence on that defensive line that we do not have now. And what's really going to be missing is, of course, the Spider. But we do have Derrick Brown. Now, I do want to say, before I get into the details of this, I do not think, I will say this, folks, we have to back away because now Derrick Brown is going to be the focal point of this defense for opposing teams to attempt to stop. So now we've got to get the right pieces around him that are going to be scary enough to make people stand up and take notice of this defense. And other guys are going to have to make plays because Derrick Brown is not going to have the type of campaign that he had last season. And there's a lot of people that are like, oh, no, he's going to be even better next year. No. There were two major factors. And I'm not a believer in the fact that contract years make a difference. Even though they do, not going to kid ourselves. But just listening to so many people say that that Brian Burns was just a money grabber and not really playing hard.
What the bruh?
The guy was out there. There's a lot of guys out there that don't give the effort that this guy gave. Being he's the guy. Now, I get it. There were times he overran plays, but look, let's just do the math. If the guy can't overrun plays if he's not going full speed. A lot of people will say, "Oh, he wasn't giving the best effort." This guy would not go out there with his teammates and get that C on his chest if he were not giving his all. So let's stop this, Panther fans, because at the end of the day, I'm not gonna have it. I'm not gonna have it when you're just sitting here being a simple keyboard warrior talking your trash about a guy who went out there and he gave his max. That's what I saw. A guy who got 8 sacks. People can sit there and say, "Oh, it's easy to do this. Oh, it's easy to do that." Okay. Maybe it was just the fact that he was playing in a system where he wasn't always allowed to do the freedom to do what he wanted on the defensive line, or maybe make the same moves that a lot of guys are. There are a lot of guys that have a lot of freedom to do certain moves. He's given the limited freedom to unlimited freedom to do spins and this, that, and the other. He's able to come up under tackles and do this and that. So he doesn't leave himself open to miss sacks. There were a lot of sacks Derrick Brown got because of the influence that Brian Burns had. So I'm not here to just talk about BB in this, BB the Spider. We moved on from him, but I just wanted to clarify that. I don't like when people, start going off on a guy who could have easily just sat out the 2024 season, despite the fact our organization did a horrible job in handling it. And I think that needs to be brought up. If anybody in Panther Nation wants to talk about something, talk about that. That situation was horribly handled.
You suck.
Now, Dan Morgan did a great job signing the new NFL season tackle record for amongst defensive tackles. Great job, DB. You deserved it. But I just want to let you guys know, don't sit here and say when the season comes up and his numbers are half as good as what they were last season. I don't want you guys to sit there and say that this guy got paid and now all of a sudden his heart has deteriorated or his effort has diminished. That's not true. When you're trying to better yourself, and this is the thing, this is where I talk to people all the time that they talk about business. You're not always going to have record years. That's why they call them records, guys.
What a dumbass.
You can't expect these type of numbers every season. It's just not going to happen.
I'm surrounded by idiots.
Records are made to be broken. But at the same time, records are set because that's exactly what they are. The best of the best of the best. He had one of those seasons. But he's not going to have a guy like Brian Burns on the outside anymore.
I just hear that name and I shut up. Do it again.
Let's get into the details. You already knew what the details of the Brian Burns situation was going to be. And everybody else in Panther Nation did not want to see this one work out the same way. The previous regime did not. They didn't want to see this one work out the same way the previous regime allowed it to be. But as we saw on Monday, Derrick Brown put the pen to paper and inked a 4-year, $96 million extension. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh my God, oh." Listen, the fact of the matter is we needed to get this done. This was a have to.
Superb.
This was a have to.
That was outstanding.
I said straight up that this guy needed to get done before we even explored a 5th-year option. This needed to get done. But what this does do is it gives us 4 more of his best years. So he'll be 29 years old, pushing 30 when this deal's over with. And I say it in this sense that it's a good move is because the Panthers are coming off a lot of money in the next couple of seasons, especially next season. You're going to see guys' money start to drop off, and then the Carolina Panthers are going to have a lot of money freed up. One, because you've got this year, next year, and the year after that, where Bryce Young's number, if he's the guy, which I still have hope that he is, and a lot of you out there in Panther Nation still believe in him, as do I. You get a top-notch player for, on average, a $24 million deal for the next 4 years. Well, after this season, it'll be 4 years. So you're basically on a mission to push the envelope further and further when it comes to playmakers. And Derek Brown's one of those guys. To me, he is the cornerstone now of this Coach Avero defense. He's going to have to be the guy that is going to be, and he will be the focal point of this defense. See, this is where you're going to have guys such as newcomer Jadeveon Clowney that are going to have to make their presence known early on. Now, this is a guy that I did a show on a couple of weeks ago when he signed. This is a guy that's going to have to bring his A game. He's never had 10 sacks in a season. This could very well be that season. And looking here, we're looking at guys like Shaq Thompson will be coming back. And you're going to have Jadeveon Clowney and DJ Wanham along with Shy Tuttle and a guy like Ashawn Robinson who came over in free agency. This is going to be a guy that is going to have an interesting impact if he can come in here and do some of the things that he's expected to do and have that kind of impact that Coach Avero is expecting him to have. Now, he's never been never won big on the sack front now, but he's had, in his 8-year career, he's had 355 total tackles. Only 7 sacks. But see, where he's at his best is he is a guy that stops the run well, along with Derek Brown. That's what Derek Brown came in as a pass rush. As a run stuffer. And he's gotten much better, but that's a huge difference when you don't have effective edge rush. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Robinson can be that piece and possibly Shy Tuttle. But looking what this deal does for the Carolina Panthers, it tells guys like Bryce Young that they're serious about making the moves to keep this franchise going, to build a strong foundation. They're keeping their first round picks. As you guys know, that we lost 2017, 2018, and 2019. All through trades. That's what we lost them to. Yeah, this has got to be a situation where we've just got to do right by Derek Brown and continue to show the free agents or upcoming draft picks of the Carolina Panthers that they won't have the same bumbling of the guard that they did with Brian Burns and drop 2 first-round picks and just throw it away. You know, these guys will be willing to not only play their butts off, but give the Panthers everything they have. But we have seen our guys like McCaffrey and DJ Moore get traded when this team wasn't able to produce a winner. I think this season's going to be huge in the building blocks of whether or not Brown's going to be here. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, why would you say that? Well, you think about it. This year he'll be 26, then he'll be 27. And he's still going to have 3 years left on a contract. So it makes sense that if the Panthers don't look close to being a contender and Bryce Young is at the end of his deal and they're going to go through the 5th-year option of deciding whether they're going to move on from Bryce Young, it could be a situation where they say, hey, look, if we get a team that's going to give us a first-round pick, we may have to discover that. I mean, we may have to look into that. And so it could be another situation of the Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, and possibly the Brian Burns situation. But, yeah, I think it's refreshing to know that this guy's going to be here. And I think it's great that Dave Canellis and Dan Morgan are proving that they want to, smack you up on the offense and defensive line. So, yeah, he wanted, as Dan Morgan said, he wanted dogs. And I think we're going to be in a huge we're going to be in a bunch of huge slobber knockers this season. Bryce just has to continue to distribute the ball. And with the draft coming up in a couple of weeks, there are a couple of guys. Oh, I just wish we didn't have so many needs. There are a couple of defensive linemen that I just love in this draft. But I will tell you about those in another show, guys. As I get ready to start breaking down, we are less than 2 weeks. We are just 2 weeks away from draft night. But let me know what you guys think, guys. I will be going live on Instagram and Facebook on draft night, you guys, seeing things as they go live. I will also be live for our pick in the second and third round on Friday evening, you guys. So you will see my reaction, and I will do a show immediately about my reaction to it. But I will show up. My next show is going to be about who we should take with our 33rd pick. But let me know what you guys think. Look me up at Mr. CeeLo on Instagram. Also, you guys, come and check me out on Facebook at Growlin' and Prowlin'. You know, I'll have a poll up hopefully in a couple of days. Who should we take with the 33rd pick and the 39th pick? And as well, comment and like, subscribe on the show, you guys, so you can get my shows and the content. Also, interact, guys. Comment. Be like Linda. You know, even if I don't agree with you, it's dialogue, you guys. You guys get real live feedback from me, myself, and people around in the Growlin' and Prowlin' family. Join the Growlin' and Prowlin' family by joining on Facebook and subscribing to the show on YouTube. But until the next time, you guys, keep prowling the airwaves and keep growling out. Keep pounding.